So when it comes to Dune prophecy, I think what they should do is to highlight other things that make up the Duniverse. Highlight the Spacing Guild, highlight the royal family, the Carino. What is going on with the Emperor? What are his motivations? What kind of Emperor is he? Is he like Shaddam? What drives him? They share a relation, the Atreides and Carinos. Is there going to be some political turmoil there between the Atreides and Carino? I would like to know more about those things. You would then kind of advertise it more as a political drama instead of just solely relying on it being a Bene Gesserit prequel, of it just being, this is how the Bene Gesserit become the Bene Gesserit. But hopefully it's not just that it's not, oh, this is how this happens with the Bene Gesserit. This is how they do that. It's definitely an art to handling prequel stories. I'd love to see and know more about CHOAM, setting up the financial, the commercial elements. The Spacing Guild as well is like right in there. You can't highlight the Emperor, you can't highlight the Empire as a whole and not show how all of this operates. Not show how the commerce and industry and civilization works. And with that, you really have to have all of these pieces on the board for the Bene Gesserit to even shine. You need to highlight their manipulative powers. Well, you need to see who they're manipulating. You need to establish that as well. And I think it would just benefit the Bene Gesserit even more, or at least from the show perspective, to highlight their puppetry of the powers that be. I think that's what fans want. I think it's what potential audiences would also like to see, that it's not just how do the Bene Gesserit be the Bene Gesserit. I think it would help if we saw the other elements. You better not leave the Spacing Guild out. I don't know how you can even do that. How can you even leave the Spacing Guild out and the Mentats? The Spacing Guild is hard to do though, right? We're talking mutants who hide from view and only want to do math. I mean, the spice is what mutates them. They would have the Highliner ships, but there would also be that risk involved in traveling to other planets because they have the Holtzman technology. But without the navigators, I mean, it's kind of a significant risk as far as FTL travel. You can accomplish it, they can do it, they can fold space, but they don't have computers. So if there's going to be a storyline with that about how they can get from planet to planet without computing technology, and that's what will set the stage for the navigators to come into for experimentation with certain substances. With certain mind-expanding substances so that they can become the navigators and ultimately establish their monopoly. So that would be interesting if we actually see that, if we get to see them establish their control and their monopoly on civilization by having this monopoly on space travel. That's all interesting. And I think that if you at least highlight more of those political elements, commercial elements, as well as the religious elements, all those things. That's what makes up Frank Herbert's world, this universe. It's what makes it so interesting and unique. And I think that would help if they advertised more of the other elements of this show. But maybe there aren't any. Maybe it's going to be very light on the other factions and other elements of the Empire. I mean, they can travel, obviously, at very slow speeds, and they can use FTL drives. The Highliners do fold space, but it's that extra risk of not having the computing technology to navigate its dangers. I think the guild is established. I want to see the guild operate in this Post-Jihad era and how their ships work and how they push forward with advancing human talents in the wake of the absence of computing technology, and them having to experiment with different substances in order to expand their minds so that they can foresee paths through space. It was a very tumultuous time for humanity. A lot of people died, but it was because of their over-reliance on technology. They were so bullish about advancing natural human talents, but they still wanted to progress as a society. This is why it's so fascinating with Frank Herbert's particular universe. He didn't want to focus on the technology of it, the technology of the future. Even though there was technology and advanced technology, that wasn't its sole focus. It was about like examining certain institutions through the course of humanity's progression of time, how things changed, how things didn't change, how things regressed. And when it comes to technology, that was such an intriguing way to set it apart, that humanity itself decided that they weren't going to be slaves to AI, to thinking machines, because they reached that point that machines were doing the thinking for them. I honestly think this would have been a much better point in time to establish a show. We're like so close to this timeline. I think the Machine Crusade would have been awesome to portray on screen in this premium format and show why the Dune universe that we see later in Frank Herbert's Dune operates the way it does. And it could have allowed for a lot of creative freedom. But it would have looked very different in my mind than how Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson decided to portray it. Because it was very much like a philosophical, ideological split between humanity itself, as opposed to just this straight up man against intelligent machine war. They're still going to be mysterious. The Spacing Guild would definitely be mysterious and very much relied upon for the commerce, for trade. So hopefully we'll see that, especially when it relates to the Emperor and these other factions. The society itself is built on the tripod civilization, which basically is the Spacing Guild, the Emperor, and the Landsraad, with, of course, the Bene Gesserit being the secret player behind the scenes, and the Mentats just being cool. I think we'll see the Bene Tleilax in this. They're very much seen as taboo. They're already isolationist society, and they want to do their own genetic experimentation, which would not be approved of by society at large. So they were always seen as pretty taboo and out there. But their stuff was needed to a point, certain things, but very much skirted the line of the Orange Catholic Bible and their principles that society then was guided by. They might be alluded to. I don't know if I can see them being a main part of the story. Maybe the Ixians, though, when it also comes to machines and certain devices. Probably a similar thing, though. We want to see other things, not just the Bene Gesserit. They're fascinating. They are a fascinating element of Frank Herbert's universe, but that is just one element that makes up this intriguing, unique universe and mythology. I think that's what fans would want to see more of, and hopefully it will strike that same spirit of what Frank Herbert's theme was, warning against trying to exert and gain control over the masses, which is the epitome of what the Bene Gesserit ultimately want to do. They want to gain ultimate control, and all of these mistakes that befall humanity and all of their plans just kind of go up in flames because of that, trying to gain control over the masses. And ultimately, that's the point of what Dune says, the importance of that spirit of independence and exploration. And I think you really need to have that understanding of Frank Herbert's themes. And hopefully this will incorporate some of that. See the failings of control. We'll see if this show incorporates that major theme of what ultimately will save humanity. The need to think for yourself and explore, not blindly following leaders. With the Bene Gesserit, through them, it's established they want ultimate control. They have ultimate control over themselves that will then extend to entire civilizations, the entire universe. But then their plans kind of take a different direction that they didn't plan for. And even the God Emperor kept the Bene Gesserit around. There was a use for them. So there's definitely potential. Frank Herbert's warning was to allow anyone or anything do the thinking for you, be it a computer, a religion, or a leader. It was a hard-won lesson for humanity. And yeah, I just hope it's in keeping with the spirit of those themes.